Hey kids, welcome to section 2.3, Social Security and Medicare taxes. Today we're going to learn how to compute the amount that is withheld for Social Security and Medicare taxes. And so the question I want you to think about today is, why does the United States have programs such as Social Security and Medicare? Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. But if you have a job, you have money taken out for these two programs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or someone called FICA, requires employers to deduct a percent of your income as taxes for Social Security and Medicare. And the employer must contribute an amount that equals your contribution. So basically, if you are having $10 taken out of your paycheck every month for Social Security, your employer is also contributing $10 to Social Security. And so Social Security is a federal government program to provide retirement and disability benefits. So if somebody retires, they're not working anymore, they need a paycheck. So that's where Social Security comes in. Or if someone is unable to work because they are disabled, then they also get benefits from Social Security. And so the Social Security tax rate is 6.2%. Everybody gets taxed 6.2%. Now, as of 2025, individuals are taxed on the first $176,100 of annual income, which basically means the average person is going to pay 6.2% of everything they earn. If you happen to make more than $176,100 a year, then you will not be taxed on everything, just the first $176,100. The second program is called Medicare, and Medicare is a federal government program that provides health insurance for people 65 and older. So once you turn 65, you're pretty much probably not going to be working, and if you're not working, you're not going to have health insurance. So we need to get you health insurance. So Medicare is a program that gives you health insurance. Medicare's tax rate is 1.45%, and it does not matter how much you earn, you are taxed 1.45%. So to calculate the taxes withheld for Social Security and Medicare, all you got to remember is you're going to take your gross pay, that's how much you earn before taxes, and multiply by the particular percentages. Social Security goes with 6.2%. S for Social Security, S for 6.2, and Medicare goes with 1.45. All right, let's see how we put these problems into action. So the first problem is a table. Find the total amount deductions withheld for Social Security and Medicare for the weekly pays below. So I want total amount, which means I'm going to add them all together. So the first example, $3,100 is their gross pay for the week. If I want to find Social Security tax withheld, I'm going to multiply the gross pay by 0.062 because Social Security is 6.2%. If I multiply, I get $192.20. If I want to find my Medicare tax withheld, I'm going to go back to that $3,100, but this time I'm going to multiply by 0.0145 because Medicare is 1.45%. So if I do 3,100 times 0.0145, I'm going to get $44.95. If I add these two together, my total deductions is $237.15. This is how much is taken out of my weekly paycheck. Now keep in mind, we also have state income tax taken out and federal income tax taken out. So there are a lot of taxes being taken out of every paycheck. All right, let's say on the opposite end, you earn $350 a week. Well, your Social Security, I'm going to multiply again by 0.062. And so if I multiply that, I get $21.70. If I multiply the $350 by 0.0145, then I only get $5.08 taken out. If I add those two together, $26.78 is taken out of the paycheck every week. All right, well, let's take away the table. Pay attention to the headings because that'll help you remember the order to do things. So Sheila Carr is a magazine editor. She receives a monthly gross pay of $5,922. Her earnings to date this year total $47,376. How much does Sheila have deducted from her paycheck this month for Social Security and Medicare combined? All right, well, first thing we have to remember is that you are taxed on the first $176,000. Well, she earned $47,000 to date, so we're good. We can ignore that number. So remember that we're looking for how much she's getting taken out of per paycheck. So it doesn't matter if she gets paid weekly, monthly, bi-weekly. It doesn't matter. We're per paycheck. So we're just going to worry about Social Security. I'm going to put SS for Social Security, and then I'm going to calculate Medicare. So I'm going to put Med. All right, so Social Security is when you take the gross pay, which is $5,922, and you multiply by the Social Security percentage, which is 0.062 as a decimal. If I do this, that's $367.16. If I then calculate my Medicare by 5,922 multiplied by 0.0145, I get $85.87. It wants me to combine mine, so I'm going to add them together. This is going to give me a total of $453.03 taken out of every monthly paycheck for Social Security and Medicare. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, this is one big problem on the slide. It's going to incorporate everything that we've learned all chapter long. Denny Carter is a single father with one dependent. He earns $455.20 a week. His pay to date this year totals $10,718.40. He lives in Washington, D.C., which has a state income tax rate of 8.95%. All right, lots going on here. Part A, how much is withheld from his weekly paycheck for federal income tax? Federal income tax uses the table. So I need to grab that he is single, one dependent, and earns $455.20 a week. Remember, your federal income tax table is per week, so we know per week, so we're good. So let's go to our federal tables. We need single. Let's make this a little bigger. We need single $455.20. So we're looking right down here. Let's get the pen. Hold on, sorry. Pen. $455.20 is right here, and we said one dependent. First column is 0, second column is one dependent, so $32 federal. $32. All right, part B, how much is withheld for state income taxes? So notice that state income taxes is not taxable wages, but it just is a state income tax rate. So that means I don't do any of the subtraction of 2,000, 4,000, or 2,000. I'm going to just take the amount that he earns per paycheck for $55.20, which in this case is weekly, and multiply it by 8.95% as a decimal. So 0.0895. If I multiply this, I get $40.74 taken out for state income taxes. Social Security. Social Security is 6.2%. So I take the amount he earns a week, $455.20, and I multiply by Social Security percentage as decimal, 0.062. If I multiply this, I get $28.22. That's how much is taken out a week for Social Security. Part D says how much is deducted from Medicare. Medicare says take your weekly wages, $455.20, and multiply by the Medicare percentage, which is 0.0145. This gives me $6.60. Part E, what is the total deduction amount on his weekly paycheck? So total deduction means I need to add up his federal income tax, his state income tax, his Social Security tax, and his Medicare. So 32 plus 40.74 plus 28.22 plus 6.60. This gives me total taxes of 107.56. So Denny is having $107.56 taken out of his paycheck every week for taxes. All right, kids, that's the end of section 2.3. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, keep calm and keep trucking.